All right, so I received a few requests on doing some more examples. I asked for some people to send me the problems that they're having, but only one person has, so here are those problems. So the first question is, find the equation of the graph shown below. And it says, type the equation of the given graph in form y equals sine omega x or y equals cosine omega x. Now the first thing we need to determine, is this a sine function or is this a cosine function? And to determine that, we need to look at our origin. Here's our origin. If our graph started at our origin, we would say it was a sine graph. However, because it is not starting at our origin, for all intents and purposes at this point, that means it's a cosine graph. So automatically we know we are going to be using cosine. All right, so now we have a cosine omega x. A is our amplitude. And so amplitude measures the height of our overall graph. A normal cosine function has a height of 1. Well, right now, we have a height of -9. So that's going to tell me y equals -9 cosine, right? Now, omega. A lot of you are getting confused and thinking omega is your period, which it's not. T is your period, and T is 2 pi over omega. So we need to actually look and find out what that period is. And remember, a period is a full section of our graph from start to end. So when we take a look, our graph starts at 0, and wherever it hits this point again, aka right here, is the period. So our period is 8 pi, because that is the length it takes to get an entire cycle of our cosine graph. So now I'm going to go over here, and while I know my period is 8 pi, I still need to find omega. Right? Well, to find omega, I'm going to multiply omega on both sides. These omegas cancel. So now I have 8 pi omega equals 2 pi. I'm still trying to get omega by itself. So I'm going to divide both sides by 8 pi. These 8 pi's cancel, and now we have 2 pi over 8 pi. Pi's cancel. 2 over 8 is 1/4. So now we have 1/4 x. So the way we type this in would be y equals -9 cosine parentheses 1 divided by 4 close parentheses x close parentheses. And that is our answer. All right, so the next question we had was, write the equation of a sine function with the amplitude 9 and period 4. Type the equation in the form y equals a sine omega x and y equals a cosine omega x. Hint, there are two equations. This one specifically says it only wants sine, and it wants sine for when a is less than 0 and for a is greater than 0, and that keeps referring to the amplitude. Remember, if we go back to our notes, and I'll see if I can pull it up real quick to show you amplitude. Amplitude is the absolute value of a. So that's why it's asking for an a for less than 0 and a greater than 0. So if we know our amplitude is 9, so a equals 9, we know the amplitude is actually the absolute value of a equals 9. So that means a can either be a -9 or a +9. Once again, it tells us our period equals 4, which means t equals 2 pi over omega. So 4 equals 2 pi over omega. Once again, we need to isolate the omega. Multiply by w, multiply by w. So I get 4w equals 2 pi. Divide both sides by 4. and I get w equals pi over 2. So now there are two answers. And recall, it wants us to use signs. So for a less than 0, we'd put negative 9 sine parentheses pi over 2 close parentheses x. And for a greater than 9, we'd put positive 9 sine parentheses pi over 2 close parentheses x. All right. And that's going to follow the same routine even if it's cosine or sine. If you have any more questions, please let me know.